Dear students, we will study natural embedding of natural embedding of n into n star star. Recall that n star is the set of all linear and continuous functions from n to r, or we may write n star as b n c depending on whether n is real or complex non-linear space. What is BNR? It is set of all linear transformations from n to r which are linear and bounded or continuous. Similarly, what is BNC? It is the set of all functions t from n to c which are linear or bounded. So this is n star. What is n star star? It is n star star, that is, it is b n r or b n c depending on whether n is real or complex non-linear space. So to be precise, n star star is the set of all functions t from n star to r or c which are linear and bounded, or it can be written as set of all functions t from n star to c where t is linear and bounded or continuous. Bounded and continuous happen to be same thing for linear transformations. Now we want to prove that there is natural embedding of n into n star star. By embedding we mean some isometric isomorphism from n into n star star. Okay, so this is the main theorem which will prove in this lecture. Let us prove this. The first result which we will prove is this theorem. There is natural embedding of n into n star star, or theorem, we can rephrase this theorem in simple words as n is isometrically isomorphic, n is isometrically isomorphic a subset to a subset of n star star to a subset of n star star. Proof. So isometrically isomorphic means we have to construct a function, say phi, from n to n star star. So we are defining a function phi from n to n star star as is defined as phi of x is equal to fx, where fx is defined as, so note that it should be in n star star, so where fx from n star to r or c is defined as phi x of is defined as fx of f fx, I should write capital F, fx of f is equal to fx. So we need to verify where f belongs to n star. Okay, so carefully understand this definition. Phi x is equal to fx, where fx of f is equal to fx. We want to ensure that this fx is actually in n star star. So what is n star star? As we have seen, n star star is the set of all linear and bounded functions from n star to r. So we need to ensure that fx is linear and bounded. So first let us verify this. First, we will prove that fx is linear. Fx is linear. So in order to prove that fx is linear, let f and g be functions in n star and alpha beta be scalars. Scalars means real or complex numbers. Be scalars. Consider, to prove the linearity, consider fx of alpha f plus beta g. By definition, it is equal to, what is definition of fx? Fx of f is equal to f of x. So by definition, this is going to be alpha f plus beta g x. This is equal to, by using definition of addition of two functions and scalar multiplication, we could simplify this as alpha f x plus beta g x. So here we are using definition of addition of two functions. Now by definition of scalar multiplying a function, we get this is equal to alpha of fx plus beta of gx, and this I could write as fx can be written as alpha fx of f plus beta fg of x, sorry, fx of g, fxg. So this proves that fx is linear, because what we have proved, fx of alpha f plus beta g is equal to alpha fx of f plus beta fx of g. So fx is linear. So fx is linear. Next, we prove that fx is bounded. So to prove that fx is bounded, consider norm of fx. Consider norm of fx. By definition, it is supremum of the set norm of fx f, where norm of f is less equal to 1. Okay, so this is going to be less equal to supremum of the set norm of fx into norm of f, where norm f is less equal to 1. The reason is this: we are using this property, norm of tx is always less equal to norm of t into norm of x. Okay, so sorry, I could have simplified this in different way by using definition of f. So that is better way to simplify this. So like this is equal to, though this is correct, we don't need this, I'll make a correction here. This is equal to, I should have written fx of f is equal to norm of fx. This is correct. Why is it? We are using definition of fx of f. So if you want a reason, I'll write here, since fx of f is equal to f of x. Okay, so next step, now we are going to use the property, it is less equal to supremum of norm f into norm x, where norm x is less equal to 1. I could take norm f outside this supremum because it is non-negative and it is independent of x. Okay, it is independent of x. Sorry, what I wanted to say is this: I could take this norm x outside this because it is independent of f. This is correct. So this is equal to norm x times supremum of norm f. Norm f is less equal to 1. Now it is obvious that supremum of this set is 1, assuming that f is non-negative function, non-zero function. So this is value of this is 1, so this is equal to norm x. Thus what we proved, thus norm of fx is less equal to norm of x for all x belongs to n. Okay, for all x belongs to n. Call this as first statement. We'll need this statement. So let us say this is first statement. This implies that, what will this imply? This implies that norm of fx f note that here we have used the property that norm of t x, norm of t x is less equal to norm t into norm x. This holds for all linear transformations. So that property we are using here in general. So same property which we have used here, we are going to use here also. So norm of fxf is less equal to norm of fx into norm of f. And by using first, we can say this is less equal to norm of x into norm of f. Carefully try to understand what we have proved. We have proved that, so norm of fxf is less equal to norm of x into norm of f for all f belongs to n star, for all f belongs to n star. Okay, note that x is kept fixed here, so it is a constant. So something like this we are having, norm tx is less equal to k times norm x. Here instead of x we are having f, and instead of k we are having norm x. So x is kept fixed here. It means that this is bound for fx. So this proves that fx is bounded. This proves that fx is bounded. This completes the verification of the fact that from the two properties which we have verified, first and second, we can conclude that fx is actually in n star star. So this is just a beginning of the proof. Recall that we want to prove that n is isometrically isomorphic to a subset of n star star. And to prove this, we are taking a function phi from n to n star star, which I could write as n star star It is defined as phi of x is equal to fx, and we have verified that this fx is actually in n star star. Now we want to prove that phi is actually isometrically isomorphic, that is to a subset of n star star. So for that purpose, we need to prove that phi is linear, bounded and 1, 1. So this part we will prove in the next lecture. Thank you.